Don't mess with me.
I won't mess with you.
All right, pal, otherwise I'll take you back through history and beat you to death with my intellect.
That would take a long time. First you'd have to find it. Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry. You're listening to the two Mikes on the warm-up right here on TalkSport. Tottenham blew it again last night when their shell-shocked players lost 1-0 to West Ham at the London Stadium, leaving the Premier League title for Chelsea to pick up at their leisure. Maurizio Pochettino says Spurs are still fighting, but does anyone believe him? We'll be asking Gary Mabbott what's gone wrong this season. 08717 22 3344. We want to hear from Spurs fans as well. Also coming up on the show, we're sneaking an early peek at the Sunday Times rich list to see which footballers are raking in the dough, and there's a 1-minute moan as well. You're listening to the two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on TalkSport. This is TalkSport. We are the two Mikes on the warm-up. We've got lots going on today. A very exciting match between Manchester City and Crystal Palace, of course. Everton, Mike Parry's team take on Swansea a little bit later on. And, of course, we've got 1 extra hour with which to delight you and educate you throughout the course of the next 3 hours. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
Do you think it'll last those 3 hours?
I don't know.
Eh?
I'm not sure.
Stumbling over the words a bit there.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
No.
So good morning to you. And a
How
good
many
morning.
words do you reckon we actually speak in a week?
Oh, I wouldn't
Have you ever
know.
thought about that?
No, I haven't thought about it.
Because I would like to have someone analyse it, because I would bet you any money that you speak about twice as many as I do.
Well,
and twice as much rubbish.
Well, people like hearing from me, so
that's what you think.
I have to meet a demand.
There's an awful lot of people who are looking forward in a big way to your predictions today, because, of course, many of them are making a fortune by betting on the exact opposite of what you say is going to happen, including last night. Many Spurs fans very unhappy with you tipping them to win the game, watching then West Ham, unexpectedly, you'd have to say, sweeping all before them and winning 1-0.
Right.
Tremendous.
Do you mind if I speak now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
Go for it. Well, we're only 6 minutes into the show, so
Yeah.
don't worry. You've still got another sort of, 2 hours and 54 minutes.
Yes, that's good. First of all, everybody expected Spurs to win, so what I said was nothing unusual. But you, of course, just said, "Oh, well, West Ham have got a chance." Well, can I remind you that when the two teams play one game, the other team has always got a chance.
Listen, it doesn't matter.
So that's the most nebulous prediction in the world.
First of all, you accuse me of sitting on the fence.
Yes,
I
you
do not sit on the fence. I make predictions as well.
You didn't say West Ham were going to win.
No, I did not say that. But
exactly, they've got a chance. They've got a chance.
No, actually, I didn't say that either.
Yes, you
the
did.
problem is you're caught up in your own web of deceit, right?
No.
Because you put out a tweet last night in which you said, I can't see any other team winning.
Yes.
But in order to try and put me down, you said, MG thinks West Ham have got a chance, because you thought everyone would ridicule me for something that I'd never actually said. So now you've been caught out. You'll just have to admit that you made that bit up.
No, I did
so
not.
you got it wrong.
No, I didn't.
And actually, I didn't get it right either.
I didn't make anything up.
Really?
I did not make things up.
Right.
Now, let me tell you, I was
Let's change the
genuinely...
subject.
Yeah, no, we're going to talk about the game itself,
Right.
rather than what you and I said about it,
All
right?
Okay.
I was genuinely shocked at the remorse being showed and the sheer desolation of the Tottenham players after the game.
They didn't seem to know what to do.
Well, what I couldn't understand was this. I thought that actually almost everybody knew that Chelsea were going to win the Premier League title anyway.
Yes.
They're not going to slip up. But when you saw the reaction of the Spurs players at the end of the game, they generally looked like they'd lost the European Champions League final
but also
during that game.
But during the game, they appeared shell-shocked as well. They didn't seem to understand that they were 1-0 down. They didn't seem to know why they were 1-0 down, or how to get a goal back, or how to do anything.
Well, that is in the 90 minutes. What I'm talking is post 90 minutes. Eric Dyer, right? He comes onto the television, and the interviewer did well to get words out of him, because he was staring at the floor. He wouldn't look up, and he kept saying, I don't know what to say. Yeah. And the interviewer, ploughed on and said, well, why did it end like this? What happened? Have you got any chance now? When I don't know what to say. He was so smacked in the face.
Yes.
It looked like somebody had taken that morning's frying pan in which I cooked my bacon and gone whack right to his face, because he was...
With the sausage fat that you keep in there.
No, it's they're clean at all times.
Oh, right, okay.
The housekeeper
Well, you
doesn't.
told me you like to reuse the sausage fat.
No, what I said is that sometimes my housekeeper bottles it and puts it away for use in stews in the future. You know?
I see.
That's not reusing it.
Okay.
Anyway, so then we get Mr. Pochettino comes on the TV, and I could not understand this quote. Listen to this.
Yes.
To win a league, to win a trophy is a key moment. Today was a key moment. We had to show that when it's not about playing well, but you must win, you win. If you want to be a champion, you have to win. How? I don't know. But you have to win. He said he didn't know. He said he doesn't know how to win.
Is that what he's actually saying? So let's read that bit again.
I'll read it to you again.
Yeah.
Okay. Today was a key moment. We had to show that when it's not about playing well, but you must win, you win. If you want to be a champion, you have to win. How? I don't know. But you have to win. I think today we miss a little bit, but we move on and try to finish in the best way the season can, still fighting.
Right. So it sounds to me like he's saying he doesn't know how to win when they're not playing well.
Exactly.
Is that what you think he's saying?
That's exactly what I think he's saying. And if he can't get over that, he's never going to win anything.
Well, that's the problem.
He never has won anything, has he?
Well, that's what we were saying. I mean, he was at Espanyol,
Yeah.
what you would have to call a minor La Liga side,
Yes.
regardless of whether you think he was a good manager or not. You'd have to say at Southampton, they were sort of a minor Premier League side, I'm afraid to say, in terms of winning stuff. And now he's been at Spurs, and they haven't won anything.
Yes.
They've had an opportunity in the Cup to go well and to go far, and they've been knocked out. They lost to Chelsea, of course, when everybody thought they would win and get to the final. And you're right. I mean, he doesn't know how to win. So in which case, if he doesn't know how to win, he can't imbue the players with the knowledge of how to win.
Yeah, so
and the players have not really won anything either, have
No,
they?
they haven't. So is Mr. Levy then, who thinks he's built a great team to inhabit this brilliant new stadium they're building, is he going to look at these quotes and then go and have a conversation with Mr. Pochettino and say, what exactly do you mean here? At the start of this season, there was talk all across Europe that Pochettino was going to Real Madrid.
Yeah.
They didn't think that Zinedine Zidane had it in him to...
Zinedine Zidane.
Zinedine Zidane. That's the guy. Zizi, as he's known to his friends, okay?
That's great.
They didn't think...
That's brilliant.
Didn't think
what
he
was
had
that again? Zinedine Zidane.
Yeah, that's him. They didn't think he had it in him to actually carry Real Madrid through a season. Whereas, of course, they're going to be the first team to win back-to-back Champions League.
I've got some good news for Zinedine Zidane as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Guess where he's going later on? 7:45 kickoff tonight. He's going to the home of Granada,
Yeah, I know.
Mr. Tony Adams, and his amazing hand-chopping dancing on the sidelines.
Can you imagine that?
0 for 4, that'll be.
I mean, if that was a boxing match, it wouldn't be allowed to go ahead.
No.
It's such a mismatch.
The
It's
towel would have
unbelievable.
been thrown in many
Adams
rounds ago.
versus Real Madrid. It's just unthinkable.
Well,
how did it ever come about?
And they've already been relegated, right? He's been there 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's right.
It's
yeah.
astonishing. Anyway, yeah. So the point about Pochettino, as you quite rightly say, is that perhaps he doesn't have the wherewithal to take them over the line.
Well,
they were accused of bottling it last season. They even ended up coming third rather than second. But Pochettino has already said today that he still believes that they're in the fight for the Premier League title.
Well, they're not.
But they can't be, can they?
Before they put their shirt on again, Chelsea could have won it because Chelsea play Monday night this week. And they play before Spurs next weekend. Yeah. So it could all be over. They only need 2 victories.
And Chelsea play Middlesbrough, I think, aren't they? At Stamford Bridge.
That's right.
Which is a very... I saw a bizarre story about Middlesbrough's possibilities of new managers, right?
Yes.
Ravanelli apparently is in the frame.
The Grey Fox.
Was he the Grey Fox or the White Fox or something like that?
Something like that.
And also Roy Hodgson's name's cropped up again.
Yeah, I know. It's unbelievable, isn't it? Any time a job comes up, I think he puts himself in the frame. He's at 14-1 to get the job. If I was a Middlesbrough fan, he got the job, I wouldn't renew my season ticket. It'll be so boring. And so dull and so lacking in confidence that they can get themselves back.
Yeah. Exactly right. Now, we want to hear from some Spurs fans.
We
will take some calls coming up very, very shortly.
Yes.
We're also going to talk to Gary Mabbott to find out from him what he thinks has gone wrong with Spurs' sort of capability of winning. But you know the number, of course, 08717 223344. According to Mr. Pochettino, in the first half, we dominated and created many chances to score. Yeah. We had quite a few clear chances. But in the second half, we started a little bit sloppy and we conceded a little bit more space. But, Slaven Bilic was a guy sort of on the back foot.
Yes.
Coming into this game, nobody expected West Ham to win it. Nobody thought that Slaven Bilic could have any idea of how to beat a Tottenham side in the form of their lives.
That's right.
So what on earth went wrong?
I mean, with Mr. Pochettino, you ask yourself this. Does he crumble in the 11th hour of the 11th day and all that kind of stuff? Because
possibly.
Do you remember when Sir Alex Ferguson started his reign? First of all, he won a cup. And then it was another couple of seasons. And then he got pipped to the league by Leeds United. Yeah. Pipped. In the same way that Spurs were pipped to the league by Leicester last season.
Take a look
but the following season, he came back and he won. And he started a reign of, absolute glory.
Well, take a look at Jose Mourinho's first season at Manchester United, right? Everybody sort of more or less universally agreed that the team he took over was not the best, right? Yeah. They have not played particularly well all season. They've disappointingly drawn many more games than they should have won. Yeah. And it turns out they might end up winning the League Cup and the Europa League and getting into the Champions League.
And qualifying for the Champions League.
Which will be one hell of a season for a manager who everyone
will.
thought had shot his bolt and managing a team that wasn't his and which was thought to be nowhere near as good as Spurs.
No, this is absolutely
right.
So
you'd have to say it's time we started levelling some criticism, I think, at Mr. Pochettino.
Well, no, it's time to ask the Spurs fans if they think he is the Messiah that everybody tells us he is. And you can do that by calling us on 08717 223344. I always read that number slowly.
Yeah. You've only worked it for 20 years.
Because if you gabble the number out, you don't know what the number is.
Why are you doing an impersonation of Andy Goldstein?
I wasn't doing an impersonation of Andy Goldstein, and I will not have you talking insultingly about our colleagues like that.
All right, then.
Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one gone, and another one gone. Another one bites the dust. Hey, hey, we're gonna get you too. Another one bites the dust.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. We've got loads of calls to take. Keep them coming in. We are going to come to you very, very shortly. We're going to talk to Gary Mabbott first, though. 08717223344. Eric Dyer's reaction, says Robert, is what fans want to see after losing any match. It shows they care. Do you understand now? And a couple of other tweets coming in. SK says, if Arsenal win the FA Cup and Tottenham come second, who's happier? And Danny, I think, with his tongue pressed firmly into his cheek, says, it's a right disaster for Spurs. Form is terrible. I mean, only 9 straight wins and a defeat is shocking. To top it off, it's our best Premier League finish ever.
Well, in that case, you're a poor fan, because if you don't feel the pain of losing the opportunity to win the Premier League, which was still with you before the game started last night, you're settling for second best. You really are. Your ambitions aren't high enough. I'm sorry.
Well, let's talk to Gary Mabbott, a former Spurs player, of course, a man who knows a little bit about winning things, and find out whether he thinks there's a problem. Gary, very good morning to you.
Morning, Mike.
Thanks very much indeed for joining us. Is there a problem at Spurs? I mean, have they not got the capacity to win anything?
Well, I think firstly, if we're looking back to last night, you have to actually give some credit where credit's due, and I thought that the West Ham players were given a game plan by the manager and they carried it out to the nth degree. And certainly after Adrian's 2 great saves in the first half from Harry Kane, I mean, how he got his foot to that and managed to deflect it over the crossbar, I'll never know. And then from the following corner, fantastic save at the near post from Eric Dyer's header. So, yes, I mean, it was disappointing, of course, because we could have got to within 1 point of Chelsea last night. But our performances this season, Mike, have been consistently to the highest level. And last night, we're probably below par. And as I said, it's probably arguably West Ham's best performance of the season.
Gary, I was shocked at the way that the Spurs players took the defeat afterwards. I didn't realise they still believed they could overhaul Chelsea because nobody else did. But I mean, they were really smacked in the mouth. Did you play in the Spurs team that got beaten by Everton at White Hart Lane when you thought you were going to win the First Division title in '85?
Yeah, no, I was back in the squad then. But the thing is, you look at the results recently when Crystal Palace went to Chelsea and got an incredible victory, and then Chelsea's performance at Manchester United. So there were some signs starting to creep in that maybe Chelsea were under a bit of pressure. And the thing was, the following week they came out at Wembley and obviously beat Spurs 4-2 in the FA Cup semi-final. And that was, for us, that was a massive disappointment. But this group of players, I mentioned the qualities that they've shown all this season. They've also shown character. From that semi-final defeat, they came back midweek. They beat Crystal Palace away from home. And going into the game last night, I think the whole club had the belief that we could go there, get a decent result, and really put the pressure on Chelsea because everyone's looking at their games to come up and saying, well, they've got easy games. There are no easy games. They've got Middlesbrough who are fighting for their lives. They've got West Brom, who are always difficult at home under Tony Pulis. Watford at home, and then Sunderland at home as well. I mean, Sunderland are going to be wanting to go out with a swan song.
Yes, that's true.
So there's a lot of difficult games still to come. And after Crystal Palace results at Stamford Bridge, funnier things have happened.
Absolutely. But Mr. Pochettino now has had 2 opportunities to get over the line and win the Premier League title. I would say last season was an easier opportunity than this season, but he's blown both of them. So is the honeymoon period with the Spurs fans and with the club starting to drain away?
No, if I'm being honest, I think the honeymoon period is just about to begin. I think last year we showed a lack of experience. I think during this season so far, I think Antonio Conte himself said the Spurs have been the best side in the Premier League this season. I think that this year we've gained an experience from that, what happened last year. I think these players now have more of a belief in themselves that they can achieve things. And yes, as you said, we went 9 straight wins, going for our 10th last night. And we lost to a team that actually denied us space, worked really, really hard. And, despite what we tried to do, we could not break them down, despite having a couple of opportunities, as mentioned before. I think this group of players, they've shown character, they've shown great ability this season. And as a team together, what I've really been pleased about is the fact that whenever you get top quality individuals in your side, sometimes you rely on those individual players to bring you results. We've got some top quality individual players, but we want to win as a team. And I think that's been shown this season by the way that, from the back, defensively, we've been very, very sound. We've allowed players in front of them to go and attack the opponents and put them under pressure. And really, this season, it's been an absolutely fantastic season. And so, we're second in the table. Last year, we threw it away on the last day of the season. But we were the only ones that pushed Leicester all the way last year and have been the only ones pushing Chelsea this year. So, no, I think both on and off the field of play, Tottenham are in the best position we've been in for a long, long time.
And a lot of fans obviously share that view, but there's West Ham fans as well out there, I have to say, Gary, who don't agree. I've got one here, Scott, who says Pochettino was outplayed, outthought tactic-wise, and he was disrespectful to us as we dominated a lot of the game. Now, I mean, I agree with everything you've said. It's been a great season for Spurs, but is it that not make it even doubly disappointing that they're coming away with absolutely nothing? No FA Cup, no League Cup, yes, a place in the Champions League, but, if it's anything like this season, they're not going to stay in that very long either.
When you're putting a team together, you have to build. And obviously, that's what's been happening over this last couple of seasons. When I say couple of seasons, it hasn't just happened within 2 years. A lot of work's gone on behind the scenes over a number of years to try and get Tottenham back, fighting for every major honour every season. And I think we're in a position now whereby we can do that. But of course, I agree totally with what you're saying. You have to get a trophy. You have to get something whereby you get in there, but you're just missing out at the final hurdle. We've got to get ourselves over that final fence and get into the finishing line. We've got a group of players that can do that. And I understand all your calls coming in from West Ham fans, but personally, if I was a West Ham fan, I'd be saying, well, how come they can put in one decent performance like last night against Spurs, and yet the rest of the season they've been very average? So I think there'll be more concerns there for the West Ham fans rather than worrying about what Tottenham can or can't achieve.
And, of course, next season, it's all about Wembley, isn't it? Which has not been a happy hunting ground, really, for Spurs. What are they going to do to make that work for them?
Well, again, I've been one that said it's absolute nonsense about a jinx of Wembley and playing at different stadiums. For me, you're playing on one of the best pitches in the world, one of the best stadiums in the world. You're going there and, even if you're pretending, I'll tell you what, let's say that we play all our games away from home next year. You play a game away from home every other week in the Premier League. Okay, let's just pretend we're playing all our games away from home next season at Wembley. But guess what? There's going to be like 80,000 Spurs fans in the stadium cheering you on. So for me, playing at Wembley, playing on that pitch with all those fans supporting you, I think that there is no downside to that.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see. Gary, thank you very much indeed. Gary Madden, Spurs legend, talking about what he thinks is a great season for Spurs, but which we perhaps disagree with.
Well, I think Mr. Pochettino talks a good game.
Yeah.
But I've already read out the quote that we've debated about, in which he says, I don't know what the missing piece of the jigsaw is. So he's got to find that missing piece of the jigsaw sometime over the summer, because Spurs now obviously not going to win the Premier League, and they've got to start next season looking like they come out the traps very, very fast indeed.
Yeah.
The team that gets away in August is going to have a huge advantage next season because there's so many good teams. There are going to be so many good teams with the amount of spending that's going to go on over the summer. Spurs have got to cling on to be one of them.
Well, indeed. Another Spurs fan, Gary's not very happy with you. He says, normally I love the two mics, but they're slaughtering the only team giving Chelsea a run for their money. It's just silly. Spurs are improving each season.
I'm not slaughtering anybody. I'm just giving you the facts.
We're asking the question, Gary, which I think a lot of Spurs fans would be asking as well, is when is there going to be a trophy? It's all very well saying, they're getting better every season. They've gone from third to second. second, but there's still no sign of a trophy. And you might think that doesn't matter, but I would suggest that, if it carries on like this, soon somebody like Mr. Levy will say, well, maybe Pochettino's not the guy to push us over the line.
Do you know what, Mike? I think Mr. Levy might have a bit of a problem there because he's been a great football administrator, no problem. He's getting them into the new ground, no problem with that. He's a shrewd negotiator in transfers, but he did make several disastrous appointments as managers of Spurs. Disastrous.
Yeah.
I mean, hopeless.
Well, maybe that was in the past, and maybe he's better at it now.
Yes, and he's got the right man, Pochettino, but he's going to be more reluctant now to weigh Mr. Pochettino off because he knows how difficult it is to find a good manager for Spurs because he admits he's made mistakes in the past.
Sure. OK. Here's one from BMW. Says, it's unbelievable. Mike Parry brings some ancient victory for Everton into a conversation about Spurs.
Yeah, I did, actually.
You might as well have brought up the Beatles.
No.
How did you manage that?
In 1985,
time, by the way.
I went to White Hart Lane on a Wednesday night.
Margaret Thatcher was still in charge.
Hang on. This is the relevance of it. Spurs were top of the table.
Eh?
They only had to beat Everton that night to really secure the First Division title. And guess what?
What?
They lost to Everton that night.
Is that why you brought it up?
Yes, because Gary Mabbutt was in that team.
Should we find another game from 1985 that Everton lost to talk about?
Do you not see the relevance? We've just had Gary Mabbutt on the phone. He played in the game that I've just illustrated to you.
So you wanted to rub his nose in it?
No, I didn't want to rub his nose into it. I wanted to give him the comparison.
I see.
Trouble with you is you can't remember anything that happened before a week last Tuesday in football
I really don't think you ought to start testing our memories against each other. You can't remember what you said yesterday.
I certainly
can.
Talk
sport.
Make commitment, you're an embarrassment. Yes, an embarrassment, a living endorsement. The intention that you have booked was an intention that was overlooked.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes. This is the warm-up, of course. Loads of football coming up, including Manchester City against Crystal Palace. How about this from Davies? He says, I hope when Ronald Koeman leaves Everton, Roy Hodgson applies for the job and watch the 180 Porky does on him then.
No. If that happened...
If he was ever appointed Everton manager, you'd probably run screaming for the hills, wouldn't you?
I'd be on the first plane to Ulaanbaatar and I'd sign up to the nearest monastery and spend the rest of my life there with a vow of silence.
In a yurt?
In a yurt.
Yeah, very nice. I look forward to that.
Yeah,
I'll see what I can do to arrange that. Let's talk to some Spurs fans.
Let's do that.
08717 223344 is the question we are asking you this morning. Have Spurs blown it again? And why can't they win anything? Let's talk to Andrew. Andrew, very good morning to you.
Hi there, Mike.
Yeah, what would you like to say, Andrew?
And Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah, good show. We have kind of blown it, I'll agree with that. But to say what's wrong at Spurs, nothing. I think that's a bit over the top. Because, Poch has built a great side, but building a good squad. Yeah, we've had a bit of trouble getting over the line the past couple of seasons, but look at where we were a few years ago. Nothing's really wrong at Tottenham. I think, if you're looking at clubs that there's something wrong with, although Man United have won something this season and could win something else, 3-4 years ago, they were, looking at other teams and going, Spurs won the League Cup. Well, that's a Tin Pot Cup. Nobody cares about that. Nobody cares about the Europa League. And all of a sudden, they do.
Yeah, Andrew, don't you think over the summer, when you see the way the spending's going, because Spurs are going to have to restrict that spending because they're new ground, Mr. Levy is not famous for shelling out huge transfer fees. He's famous for taking in huge transfer fees, but not for spending them. Now, when you see people like Griezmann going to Manchester United and Jose gets serious, you are going to have a much more difficult job of taking on and beating the other top 3 or 4 teams in the elite of the Premier League next season than you have had this season. Because your team's good, but it's not going to be as good by comparison once the other teams have strengthened over the summer.
Well, with all respect, Mike, everybody was saying that last season after Man City went on their spending spree. Oh, yeah, Man City are going to just sweep all before them. What's happened again? Nowhere.
Yeah, sure.
So, again...
But it is, the game...
You look at the players and the big teams and they buy big players. Falco was bought, did nothing. Even going back, Kesman was bought, did nothing. Just because they're big names doesn't, and they've done well elsewhere. Torres did brilliant at Liverpool, went to Chelsea for 50 million, didn't do a lot.
Totally agree.
So just because they're buying Griezmann, there's no guarantee that he's going to start popping in billions of goals.
No, I agree, but you're going to be up against managers who have track records of winning. Pep Guardiola's a winner. Jose's a winner. Even Arsene Wenger is a winner. And you've got a manager who can't seem to get over the line.
Well, I'm going to be a little bit controversial here. Yeah. Jose's a winner. Pep Guardiola won in Spain. Okay, big diff. And he won in Germany.
Yes.
Again, to me...
Don't you think, Andrew, that he's going to be better next season after having spent a season in the Premier League?
Possibly. But, he won things in Germany, he won things in Spain where all right, it's better quality of Scottish football, but there's still only really 2 teams in either of those leagues.
Yeah. But
he's still won things in places where Pochettino hasn't won anything.
Yeah, and Mr. Conte is now the latest winner to be added to the list of Premier League managers who win things.
But Pochettino is building something. I mean, look at Ferguson. It took him 3-4 years to win a title.
But when he had the opportunity, and missed it against Leeds the season before he won his first, he didn't miss it again. You guys have missed it twice now in consecutive seasons.
And I think the difficulty is as well. Thanks for kicking us off there, Andrew. We're going to have to leave it there. We've got loads of calls to get through. We're going to talk to Phil in a second, who's a West Ham fan. The point is as well that the football kind of cycle, if you like, I think is shorter now. That you have an opportunity when you're at the top, you've got to win something because
in 3 or 4 seasons.
We look at Leicester. Leicester won something. Now they've disappeared from
because they didn't build on it.
Because they didn't build on it. If Tottenham don't win something when they've got a good team, then when are they going to win something?
There's never going to be a United dominating for another 20 years, is there? Again?
Absolutely not.
Because, as you quite rightly say, the fortunes of the clubs with the mega amounts of money is all now about spending properly, and you can spend badly.
Exactly, because people don't want to wait around too long between titles. Phil is a West Ham fan. Phil, very good morning.
Hey, Phil.
Phil, are you there?
Hello,
Yeah, Phil, you're on. What you got to say?
Thanks. Brilliant show as always. West Ham season ticket holder. 3 brief points to make. The first one, I agree with Gary Mabbott. West Ham have had a dreadful season. So what was different about last night? Obviously, it's a local derby, and we raised our game. But we also were missing 4 or 5 first-teamers. Carroll, Antonio, Obiang, Bonner.
Yeah.
And we still managed to win.
Yes, go on.
I listened to Andy Goldstein on my way home last night. I think for Spurs, they've had progress over the last 5 years. I would love West Ham to have those 5 years that Spurs have had.
Of course you would.
Top 6, now top 4. So we all want to win trophies, but there's not that many trophies to win in a season.
Well, somebody's got to win them.
Absolutely. But I think, Pochettino has done a very good job. And I say that as a West Ham fan. And also, I can't stand when the likes of Guardiola talk about a project. What they're saying there, Mike, is I want 3 years to sort it out.
Yes,
before I get the sack.
I agree. So West Ham had a great win last night. Has that solved West Ham's problems? Is Bilic going to stay with you?
I hope he does. I think the board's really got to spend some serious money. We've got a fantastic stadium. All the fans were moaning about it, but we have a good win and everyone's happy.
Yeah, exactly. I
did want to make one other point.
Yeah, go on.
To Mike Parry.
Yeah.
I went to the West Ham Everton game, Mike. I don't know if you were there or.
Yes, we were there.
We were there. We did a show from there.
Yes.
Well, if anyone had any doubts about Lukaku leaving, then they should have watched that game because I don't think he broke sweat.
He did the same against Chelsea, funnily enough.
So I think he's on his way. I just wanted to make that point.
You could be right, mate. All players have bum games. They can't motivate themselves for some reason. There is a good chance.
He has more than most, though, doesn't he?
No, he doesn't, Mike. He has recently. I agree with that.
No,
He's
a
had
very
a great
hot and
season.
cold player. He's a very hot and
cold player.
No,
I don't agree. He's the top scorer in the Premier League. He couldn't have had that bad a season.
Yeah, well, he scores goals when they're not necessarily needing to be scored, though. That's the problem.
Well, look, there's a chance he might leave Everton if he does it on very favourable terms, and then Everton move on.
Indeed, they do. And then they have to look for a new manager. Let's talk to Danny, who's a Spurs fan. Danny.
Hello.
Yeah, hi. Very good morning to you, Danny. What do you want to say?
I just want to say about saying that we blew it and that. I can't see how people can say we've blown it.
Well, we just had a Spurs fan on who said we've blown it.
Well, that's his opinion. I don't think we've blown it. We've blown a good opportunity to put Chelsea under more pressure, but those Tottenham fans I know wouldn't say Chelsea were going to drop any more points.
So you don't think?
Yeah, but you look at the players' reaction last night. They looked absolutely like they wanted to still be in the race, and now they're not.
Yeah, I know. But they can't exactly just not look happy about it, can they? Like, obviously, I'm gutted.
No, but they weren't even philosophical. They just said this. I mean, Eric Dyer said, "I don't know what to say." The boy was speechless. So they clearly thought that the fortunes of football are that Chelsea could have lost a couple of games between now and the end of the season and let Spurs back in. That happens. That has happened in the past.
They're professional. They got to think like that. Whereas you're a fan, you're a bit pessimistic, aren't you?
Who? I'm what?
Well, I couldn't see Chelsea dropping any more points from now to the end of the season.
I couldn't either. But the point is, in the long term, you've got to realise that you need a manager and get you over the line. And Mr. Pochettino, at the end of the game, was not speaking like a bloke who thinks he knows how to pull that lever.
Well, that would seem to be the case. We are the two mics on the warm-up. That song, of course, is not only the Everton song, it's also the Watford song, but we don't really talk about that much, do we? Because coming up later on today, amongst many other things, of course, Everton go to Swansea. It's live right here on TalkSport, and I'm delighted to say that we've got Derek Mountfield to talk to.
Everton legend, Derek
player,
Mountfield,
of course,
please.
From the 80s. Everton legend, as you say. We'll see whether we can find out from him whether he thinks Lukaku's a bit of a hot and cold player. Derek, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Hi, Derek. Very well, thank you.
Very well indeed. Should we start with Lukaku? Because we had a previous caller on who was saying he's pretty certain that Lukaku's going, judging by the way he played at West Ham and the way that he didn't play terribly well against Chelsea. I'm saying to Mike Parry, who you know well as a massive Everton fan, that the problem with Lukaku is he scores a lot of goals in games that he doesn't really need to score a lot of goals in, and doesn't maybe score in the important games.
I think you look at Lukaku, he's a hot and cold player at times. He's got all the attributes as a top-class striker. He can head the ball, he's got 2 good feet, he's strong, but more importantly, he's got pace. The problem with Lukaku is sometimes if he doesn't get the service, he looks very disinterested in the game, and that's what I say about Lukaku. Even if you're not getting the ball, you've got to work the centre-halves more than he does. Sometimes the centre-halves have a very easy game against him because he loses interest because the ball's not coming. But if you keep working those centre-halves and putting them under pressure and chasing these out, things come for you. But he is a hot and cold player. When he's on fire, he's unplayable. He's a player I wouldn't like to play against, big, strong and aggressive. But sometimes you just see that he doesn't look interested. And half of that is I don't think he gets the service he wants. But to get the service, sometimes you've got to make those runs and put yourself about to make people aware that you are making them runs still.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of the opposite to Wayne Rooney, isn't he? Wayne Rooney goes and finds the ball if it's not coming to him, whereas Lukaku was giving some of his midfield players dagger-like looks against Chelsea, where's the ball and all that. Derek, do you think that Everton are entering a period now, we're playing Swansea 5:30 today, we're entering a period now which is perhaps more optimistic since the glory days that you played in the 80s?
The hopes and aspirations of the fans now have risen massively, Mike, in the last 12, 18 months. Yeah. And all for the right reasons. There's lots of positives coming out of Goodison Park now, not only on the field of play, but in the background with the so-called new stadium, people who are going to sign. So that the fans are expecting things to happen. But we've got to give it time. Things don't come overnight. I've seen a massive change around in the club, not only just in the way it's being run, but the fans, I can see the sense of anticipation. Something I didn't see 30-odd years ago when we went from being a team really struggling to all of a sudden being one of the best in Europe. It came very quickly to us, but current day football, you've got to build slowly and progressively. It doesn't happen overnight, but there's definitely an air of confidence around the ground at the moment.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, isn't it? Because it did happen overnight for Leicester, but then it happened just as quickly in the opposite direction overnight for them to go back down sort of into relegation territory. But, I mean, have Everton realistically got a chance of getting into the top 4? I mean, it seems more difficult than ever now, doesn't it?
I think it's getting harder and harder. The top 4 get more money than anybody else because when they qualify for the Champions League, they get a lot more money than the team that finishes 7th and maybe makes Europa League. So we've got to understand that the top teams are the money teams now. But why can't we break into the top 4? Why can't we show ambition? And why can't we be up there? We've shown in some of the games this season that we can more than match these teams. But we've got to do that game after game against the top teams, but also against the teams below us and fight relegation. We've got to take the points off all of them. But there is something happening at Everton, and I just hope that under Ronald Koeman over the next 2 or 3 years, we keep that progress going and we are fighting for one of those top 4. But before that, let's get top 6, top 5, and then look at the top 4.
Yeah, sure. If Lukaku goes, and I suppose there's a good chance he will, in my view, we bid him farewell, thanks a lot, take an awful lot of money, and move on. You can't keep moaning, can you, and saying, he's a great player, we made him the player he is. If he doesn't want to play for Everton and wear that blue shirt, he's not worth having in the dressing room, is he?
It's one of them, Mike. If you look at the current day player, everyone wants to play in what they call the Champions League. Yeah. What is so special for me about it? I don't see what's so special about the Champions League really is, but players want to play there. And Will Lukaku fit into a Chelsea? Will he fit into a Manchester City? Will he fit into an Arsenal? Or will he have to move abroad? If he does move, I'm still not convinced he's going to move yet. I think he might well have another year out of him and try and get that high position. But
brilliant.
Where will he fit? Where will he fit into the team? Because we've sort of played a style of football that sort of suits Romelu Lukaku. Yeah. If he has to go up to another team and play a different style, will it suit him? If he fails to dominate the Prem like people say he does, when he looks like he's sulking, will the new manager accept it? I don't know, but I just think we've got Romelu for at least one more season, and then we'll have a look from there.
Yeah. What about today's game, Derek? Swansea obviously are sitting there in relegation territory. They must get 3 points today, really, to try and have any chance of leapfrogging over Hull. Are they they're more dangerous perhaps now than they would have been a couple of months ago?
Yeah, you're probably right there. Under Paul Clement, they've had a little bit of resurgence, but they've just stalled in recent weeks. But you can see the confidence in the side now. They know they can play football, that they've got a belief about themselves, and they are fighting for their lives. So it's not going to be easy today down at Swansea, but we've got to go and match them. We've got more than enough in our team to beat Swansea today, but it's how they turn up. If you look at some of our recent away games, we don't seem to have turned up, i.e. West Ham away the other week, and it was an awful game. We've got to go over there and we've got to go to Swansea and say, look, we're the team in 7th place, we're the team pushing for the top 6, we're going to make life hard for you. But sometimes we don't do that. We make it too easy for teams down below us to get points off us or take points off us. And we've got to be stronger than that against those sort of teams.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the Spurs-West Ham game last night, Derek, but, you know, when you're going to win a title, the First Division title in your case, now the Premier League title, something you've got to have in your bones, some wills to win to get you over the line, which Spurs are missing.
Yes, probably. They threw it away last season. They had a great run last season. We thought we'd all won it, and then they lost a couple of games. And that's where being in that situation and actually taking that situation and winning the league gives you a bit more confidence. At the moment, they've got one foot on that step, and they can't get the second foot on there. Yeah. Is that a lack of belief? Is that a lack of confidence? Is it a bit of nerves? It's probably a combination of all three. But when Tottenham go to West Ham are fighting for the lives at the London derby. Yeah. It's not going to be easy. Yeah. And Tottenham, unfortunately, last night didn't raise the game enough to take the points.
No, they didn't. No.
Derek, just before we let you go, can we ask you for a quick prediction for this afternoon down at Swansea?
I hate all these predictions. I predict them all the time. I never get one right.
Yeah, well, neither do I.
You and Porky said the same.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think Everton have to go there and take the game to Swansea. And if we play like we can do, we can win the game. So let's go Everton 1-0.
Okay.
1-0. Thank you very much.
Derek, thank you very much. It doesn't sound as if he's absolutely overjoyed and overpowered with optimism.
No. He's 1-0. He's saying a victory, 3 points away from home. He seems to know something about Lukaku, which perhaps the rest of us don't.
We'll discuss this coming up. Now, Jack says this very interestingly after that last phone call before we spoke to Derek.
Yes.
Did that last caller just call Porky fat?
Yeah, I think he did. We're trying to work out what he said.
I don't know whether he did. That's shocking if he did say that.
It is shocking.
We'll have to ban him. You can't do that sort of thing
because
on
A, it's
radio.
inaccurate, and B, we do not take personal insults on this radio station.
It's not the place to rebuke. Well, I'm 60, a bit obvious, isn't it?
Well, you know,
just because he's 64, you have to play a Beatles song.
We have a very hurried
you told him to play a Beatles song.
I didn't. No, I'm not admitting to that at all. No. But he's a top pundit on telly. He's got a fantastic track record as a player and manager, so I just thought we should signal that classic 64th birthday.
I don't mind that. See, this is a much better idea.
Yeah,
you know what song this is? Rod Stewart, right?
Young
Sir
Turks.
Rod Stewart, Young Turks.
Yeah.
Because he did manage Galatasaray, didn't he?
Well, he nearly caused the Civil War.
Well, he did, yeah. He got a lot of Young Turks where he worked up.
Absolutely, yeah.
He went and planted the flag in the middle of the centre circle, didn't he?
Did, yeah. He's talked about that since he didn't realise how inflammatory, literally, it would be because they only set fire to the stadium.
Absolutely brilliant. He's also, I mean, I remember my father was telling the story of, he used to think Graham Souness was really brilliant. And when he gave that speech, as a player, when he gave that speech, I can't remember if he was playing for Rangers or for Liverpool, but my dad always told the story of how he was playing this game, and he told everybody to be very calm, before they went out to play, because they didn't want any red cards, they didn't want any kind of red mist coming down. And within about sort of 5 seconds of being on the pitch, he was sent off for probably taking somebody out at the halfway mark.
I think that was his debut as player manager for Rangers.
I think it might have been
his first game for Rangers. He told everybody, I'm going to take the tension out of these games. Yeah. After about half an hour,
and he tried to take somebody out of the waist practically,
somewhere
near the touchline.
Something like that.
And he was saying sent off. So, what a character.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Now, Spurs moving to Wembley.
Yeah.
Will it work? And if it works, are they going to follow through with a plan which has been mooted that they will ask the Wembley authorities to reduce the size of the pitch?
How do you mean reduce the size of the pitch?
Well, I'm not sure, but I mean, you can reduce the size of any pitch. You'd have to go and take in a grass cutter, you know what I mean? And
but is there not
a
regulation size that it must be within?
No.
Surely there are parameters, aren't there?
Sorry, there's a regulation size, and 120 metres, 120 yards actually, it's still done in yards, is either the minimum or the maximum length, I'm not sure. And there's a minimum and maximum width.
But there are two fixed points, aren't there?
Absolutely, between this measurement and that measurement, and the idea is that will Spurs ask them to narrow it, because has one of the problems been that the pitch is so much larger than the one they used to at White Hart Lane?
Yeah, but I can't believe that would be the case, because presumably if they narrow the pitch, that puts them even further away from the crowd, which is part of the problem as well, isn't it?
I don't think so. At Wembley, you're not a long way from the crowd. It's not like there's a there's not a running track or anything like that.
But it's not like White Hart Lane. There's still quite a bit of space between the pitch and the crowd.
Yeah, let me tell you this: at 105 metres by 69 metres, the Wembley playing surface is larger than White Hart Lane's 100 metres by 67 metres.
Right.
Okay, and introducing a smaller pitch is one of a number of options under consideration to try and make the players feel more at home. The final decision will be made by the manager, Mauricio Pochettino himself.
Yeah.
The club will make several structural changes to Wembley, including increasing the size of the tunnel to accommodate the demands of broadcast rights holders. That tunnel at Wembley is massive already.
It is. I know.
I've been down it when they were building the stadium, and it's the width of a motorway already.
So what do they want to extend it perhaps lengthways though, rather than
think so. Yeah.
widthways?
Put like
and
a
the other interesting point about all of this is that will any changes that they make to the stadium also then apply to Champions League football, or will they have to be changed back?
I think the regulations are FIFA regulations, so I think it counts on, in domestic and European.
Okay.
Just one last thing here. Tottenham announced an enlarged offering of 41,000 season tickets for the next 2 seasons this week, and the club also plan to sell one-off season passes for the next campaign because of Wembley's greater capacity.
Yeah.
Well, they must go, presumably, then, to those 67,000 people on the season ticket waiting list.
Absolutely right. I mean, interesting one here from Adrian, who's talking about just Spurs' performances in general this season.
Yep.
Spurs weren't exactly overloaded with European games either. Yeah. Well, that's true.
No.
I mean, if they're hoping to improve next season, and which would presumably mean staying in the Champions League for longer, then their squad's going to be under even more pressure than it was this year.
Absolutely.
Because they didn't make it through to the final stages of the Champions League, so they haven't played European football this calendar year, have they?
Absolutely. And sticking with Spurs, by the way, I'm sorry it's a bit Spurs dominated this morning, folks, but Spurs did play last night and blew the Premier League.
Why are you apologising?
Well, only because sometimes, we get accused of concentrating on Manchester United or Everton or Spurs.
Well, let me read you this tweet, and this is what you get accused of. Mr. Chilly says this: does Porky realise that he works for TalkSport and not the Everton Broadcasting Company?
Yes, I do. But
just checking.
No. But I mean, if you're accusing me of being a spy in the camp, I am completely and utterly neutral on everything. I never ever try and big up my own club.
Is that right?
But still talking Spurs, Kyle Walker's an interesting situation.
Yes.
Because I had one report this morning come through which said Kyle Walker's been approached by several football agents, promising to get him a move away from Tottenham.
Yeah.
But he remains on the books of Base Soccer, who have represented him since he was a teenager.
Is that right?
At Sheffield United.
It's interesting actually, because we did have a tweet earlier from someone who said that Kyle Walker's form last night was as bad as it has been in a long time, and they were saying they thought perhaps his head has been turned. And that's one of the things we didn't get to discuss actually in the first hour of the show, is that it's all very well saying Spurs are building something and they're getting a team together which is going to be better and better as each year goes by.
Yes.
But they are also, and have been historically, a selling club.
Yeah, but
in the sense that, if Harry Kane gets poached by somebody, if Dele Alli gets poached, they will inevitably let them go.
Do you know what? I defend that always by saying every club's a selling club these days.
Yes, but I mean, they're building something which they can't afford to lose, though, right?
Well, I agree, but Manchester United had to sell Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Chelsea are probably going to have to sell Conte.
But they could survive both of those
Sorry,
things.
not Conte. Garcia.
Costa.
Costa.
Yeah.
Costa.
Who's Garcia?
Garcia, I don't know.
Mr. Garcia.
Diego Garcia. It's actually
Diego Garcia's a US Air Force base.
US Air Force base in the Indian Ocean.
Yeah. So why would you confuse that with Diego Costa, who's a centre forward for Chelsea, going to China?
Well, I don't know. You could,
you're talking about my memory going.
Easily confused.
Now, how about this from somebody called Danny?
It says, by the way, that Spurs won't take a penny less than $50 million for Kyle Walker if he goes.
Well, that's, I'm sure, correct. But the point is that if they then get offered that money, we know from history that Daniel Levy will take that money.
Sure.
Round boy Mike and good-looking Mike, I don't know which one is which, according to Danny in Hertfordshire. The reason for Z cars at Watford is an ex-Everton coach ended up at Watford and thought it would be good to use.
No,
surely you can't just steal the song, can you?
No, it wasn't that at all. I'll tell you what it was. It was that manager who... They had a manager on a temporary basis who... He used to manage Birmingham as well, and I can't remember who else it was. But Z-Cards was a national programme.
Was this during... Oh, so it was before Elton John's time?
Yes, before Elton John's time.
Because you'd have thought Elton John might have given him a song.
You'd have thought so, yeah. And this guy had seen Z-Cards twice, apparently, and when they were asked, what sort of music do you want, in the team choir, he said, I don't know. I saw that new series about coppers the other night, Z-Cards, I used that, it sounded all right. And that's how they used it. Whereas for Everton, of course, it's a regional thing because it was from that part of the world. And it was played out at a charity match that Colin Harvey kicked off in Prestatyn in North Wales.
Is that right?
Yeah, and they should have picked it up from there.
I see.
I think Roy Vernon was there as well. Yeah.
I completely switched off during that explanation.
Did you?
Yeah, I don't remember anything you said.
Well, you read out the original message.
Yeah.
All I did was fill in the details for you.
Yeah, but you did that thing that you often do, which is just ramble off onto some ridiculous tangent that nobody's interested in.
One thing I'm not is a rambler.
Yeah, you are.
Unless I've got my rambling boots on.
Chelsea Tony says this: Spurs cocked it up, Arsenal are pants, West Ham are poor. There's only one team in London. Keep the blue flag flying high. I wonder, will they ever see a Champions League medal?
Well, that's what it's all about at the end of the day. And
well,
I'm really surprised with some Spurs fans who've come on today, and there's some more, probably talk to some more before the end of the show, who seem to comfort themselves in the fact that they're going to finish second, maybe.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, the other problem is there's many Spurs fans that come on and say, we're doing really well, we're coming second, it doesn't matter, there's a lot of there's not that many trophies you can win, so it doesn't matter if you don't win them.
Yeah.
I'm afraid that the measure that an awful lot of owners of football clubs and an awful lot of chief executives of football clubs use to say whether or not you're making progress is whether you're winning anything.
Yes.
If you don't win anything, they say, well, I'm sorry, you're not doing well enough.
That's right. Do you know there's some speculation again this morning that perhaps David Moyes won't stay at Sunderland after all?
What, you mean after you put out your suggestion that, I told you he was an honourable man?
Well,
by the way, nobody believes he's an honourable man because he hasn't got anywhere else to go.
Well, apparently, according to those who know what's going on in the north of England, he won't take a final decision on his Sunderland future till another round of discussions with Mr. Short, Ellis Short, the owner.
Don't you think that's embarrassing?
Do you think the Sunderland fans want him to stay?
I don't think they do. I really don't.
No, I think they do.
No, he's made a complete and utter mess of the club, right? He has not done anything good for them.
He didn't have any tools to work with.
That's not true.
No.
He had Jermaine Defoe, right? Who scored
one player.
Well, that's not just the only player
One
he had.
outstanding player.
He had the ability to make sure that they didn't let in as many goals as they did. He's supposed to be a defensive coach. He's supposed to be a very good coach at making sure that teams don't allow too many goals to be scored against them. He didn't do any of that. I just don't think he's worth keeping.
But the Sunderland fans definitely want him because they see him as a big name.
I don't think they do.
Well, they do because it's better the devil you know. They're worried about who they'll get if he goes because when you start mentioning names like Roy Hodgson, being available to Middlesbrough, would be available to Sunderland.
You would not want Roy Hodgson to bring them up from I'll tell you who they should get, but I know they won't want him because he was at Newcastle. It's Alan Pardew because he could bring him up from the Championship.
He probably could, but it's never worked, has it? When a manager switches his loyalties in the North East, ask Steve Bruce about it. It doesn't work.
Very tricky. Yeah. Pete says this: it's shocking to hear listeners abusing Porky on air. Yeah. We all know that's MG's job. Very true.
It's supposed to be funny.
It is funny and true, as most funny things are.
Do you know what? It's like water off a duck's back for me.
Yeah, very good. Have you seen the time?
Yeah.
I don't like Mondays. Tell me why. I don't like Mondays. Tell me why. I don't like Mondays. I want to shoot. Ooh. The whole day down. The telex machine is kept so clean and it types to...
Now, that didn't take long. There's a goal at Manchester City. Let's go to Don McGuinness.
Dom. Manchester City 1, Crystal Palace 0, inside 2 minutes. David Silva, he was an injury doubt.
Terrible defending that, wasn't it? Teed up very nicely by the Palace defender. And the goalkeeper seemed to be all over the place as well. Shocking. I mean, maybe this will be Manchester City going back to their sort of best and slaughtering a team sort of 4-5-0.
Free-flowing,
Who can say? Now, interestingly enough, what you were saying about Spurs and the pitch at Wembley.
Right.
Percy says this, MG, Porky's talking nonsense. West Ham wanted to shorten the pitch at the Olympic Stadium, but were not allowed to.
Well, it must have then been minimum regulation.
Very possibly so.
Because you look in the laws book, the FA laws book,
Yeah.
And you will see that there are minimum and maximum, and they're in metres.
That was my understanding.
Yeah, it is. And the maximum length you can have is 120 metres. That's a huge, long pitch. But most people don't have it that long. But
well, most people have the space, do they?
Yeah, exactly. I'm not talking rubbish at all. If you can't reduce your pitch length, it's because it's at the minimum, that's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, here's one from Madge, who says, Paul, thanks, Paul, for letting us know in advance you're backing Liverpool. I'm just calling now to cancel the coach trip. Hashtag Porky Jinx.
I don't know. Honestly, you started this. And it's
I did not start it.
It's spread like wildfire.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Totally
I'll tell you how amazing the Porky Jinx is, right?
Yeah.
Which is now been ratcheted up to a mega jinx from last weekend. Is that you remember you were telling me a couple of nights ago about how you just bought a new suit,
very expensive,
a new black suit from Debenhams.
Well, from a concession in Debenhams.
Well, you said it was in Debenhams.
It was somebody like Paul somebody or something,
or
inside
Paul Smith.
Debenhams. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah,
you told me it was some Italian name.
It is Italian name, but it's
Paolo.
Yeah, Paolo. Yeah,
Paolo Smithy.
Paolo Smithoni. yeah. Something
well,
like
do you know what happened after you announced that you'd been shopping at Debenhams?
No.
They were immediately hit by cyber terrorists who have run off with a large number of people's private details.
Okay.
And it's not so much the Debenhams store itself; it's actually the concession they use to send flowers.
Oh, I see.
So if you've ever sent flowers via Debenhams, I'm afraid the pirates have got your details.
Well,
they say that they're going to make sure that they can be as secure as they possibly can. But for the Porky Jinx to now hit a department store is really something.
I'll make it absolutely clear to you, and I don't know any cyber terrorists and don't wish to. Now, coming out of that last
Why
break,
would you?
No, I don't know.
There's no need for you to issue that particular disclaimer.
Well, I'm issuing it
I
now.
don't know any cyber terrorists either.
Exactly, so I didn't influence them.
Yeah.
Now, coming out of that last break, we played that classic song, I Don't Like Mondays.
That's true, yes.
Boomtown Rats.
Yeah.
And
I don't like Mondays.
You and I have covered this a little bit before. We said it was brewing up, but it's got to the High Court, which is a huge row between Bob Geldof, who was, I suppose...
And a rather strangely named character,
Fingers.
Fingers.
Yeah, a guy called Johnny Fingers. The song is credited to Geldof alone, but Johnny Fingers claims he co-wrote it, contributing to the piano intro, which is the most famous part of the song, and the lyrics, down, down, shoot it all down. Excuse me. Now, Fingers' real name is John Moylett.
Right.
What's happened is that we knew this case was coming to court. It's come to court, and Bob Geldof's people are saying that they want a £750,000 cost security.
Right.
In case the keyboard player loses.
Oh, what you mean, so that they can pay their legal fees without necessarily having to try and extract it from him?
Exactly.
Right.
These legal processes are very technical, but sometimes if you put so much money in court and then the case goes against you, you don't get as many damages
this
and
is
all this kind of
stuff. I suppose partly their way of saying as well that they believe it to be a frivolous court action.
Yes,
presumably.
it will. Now, the point is that old Johnny Fingers hasn't got £750,000 or anything like it, so he's now saying, if I do that, I've got to mortgage my house.
Yeah.
He's got a daughter who's, suffering from some sort of illness, and, if they lose the case, then they become homeless, and it gets into these incredible legal situations where you can rack up millions of pounds alone in legal costs before anybody gets anything.
Well, that's true, but unfortunately that is the legal system in the country, and I mean, obviously he's looking for money, otherwise he wouldn't be bringing it. He'd have to ask the question without knowing the facts of the case.
Yes.
Why has he waited this long to bring it?
Well, we discussed this before, and it's all about the fact that he was always on a promise, he says. His allegation is, I was always on a promise from Bob that I would benefit from it.
Yeah.
I agreed not to demand a songwriting credit, but it was obvious we wrote the song between us. And I think after years and years of, kind of unofficial negotiations, same sort of thing happens with bands all the time. There's a big row going inside Slade about who wrote, it's not a row, Happy Christmas Everybody.
Yeah.
And other members of the group, apart from Noddy Holder and Jim, whatever his name was, who played the violin. Jim Lee. People want money. So it happens all the time. It's just so sad, I think, that these guys created something which was really explosive, wasn't it? When it first came out, Rat Trap and You've Been Caught and all that kind of stuff. They end up in court suing each other.
It is a shame, I think I saw a story the other day that there's a lawsuit going on around Iron Maiden as well.
Yeah.
Because they're supposedly in dispute with somebody who they thought had already settled the deal.
Yes.
But some very big song of theirs, which I can't tell you about because I'm not too familiar with their songs.
Yes.
But there's somebody suing them as well.
That's right. So what I'm waiting for is the day in 10 years' time when you're broke and, nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And I get the phone call from you saying, Porky, give us a few...
Well, much phone points ringing you in 10 years because you won't be here, will you? You'll have shuffled off this mortal coil by then.
Yeah, you'll say, Porky, give us a few few quid, will you? And I'll say, what do you want a few quid for? And you say, well, I gave you the expression, it's a bit harsh.
Yes.
And I'll say, no, you didn't.
No, I didn't give you that one.
All right. And I'll say, all right, well, I'll take you to court then, but you have to give me £1 million.
Yeah.
In the bank before I step up in court.
Well, maybe you'll get the phone call before that, while you're actually still alive. When I'll say, well, what about this 50% of the snack market that you seem to have cornered, which is now reaching as far as China? It would appear.
It is.
Ian in Shenzhen has sent us a picture of his Two Mics T-shirt, which has arrived in China, where he works, alongside a massive load of bags of porky scratchings.
He has indeed.
He's lucky they weren't confiscated at the border.
He is, actually. And I'll tell you where I'm going after the show today. I'm going to a delightful pub down in Stockbroker Belt, which has become the first customer in Stockbroker Belt to order and take my Porky Parry scratchings as their number one bar snack. I've broken through the glass wall into Stockbroker Belt from the great northern territories where my scratchings excel. It's now become the in-food in Stockbroker Belt. How about that?
Well, maybe some pictures of people eating them later on this afternoon would be good. You can put those out on Twitter. A couple of quick announcements for you. One from Johnny, who says, please could you guys wish my daughter Lauren a happy 12th birthday for tomorrow. She listens every Saturday. Thank you very much indeed.
Lauren, what a lovely name, my dear. 12th birthday. You have a great day and have a great and prosperous life.
Yes.
I'm going to read you one here. Trust me, Porky, says Graham. I'm a Toon fan from Durham, so he's a Newcastle United fan but lives on Wearside. He says, and David Moyes is as welcome with the Mackhams, that's the Sunderland fans, as Joe Kinnear was with us. They are devastated at his staying.
Yes, I bet they are, Here's one from Frank. He says, morning, guys. He said, would love a birthday shout-out today for my 42nd birthday. I'm now only 30 years behind Porky.
You're not actually. You're not nowhere near that far behind. What's the guy's name?
Frank.
Frank, have a very happy birthday, mate. 42, no age at all, honestly. You've got years left ahead of you, providing your heart holds out.
Yes, exactly right.
Yes.
And now, a couple of other things to mention to you as well, because, of course, we'll be talking about the Rich List, which is coming out in the Sunday Times tomorrow.
Yes.
A couple of rather interesting developments on there, which we shall talk about very, very shortly.
Yes.
But also, we've got to think about some other stuff coming up later on tonight, have we not? Because the late kick-off, the late kick-off Swansea and Everton, we managed to find a guy who is the Swansea chapter head of the Everton fan club.
What a boy.
We're not going to talk to him just yet, but we are going to talk to him soon.
Well, it's amazing, because I've been focusing on this game since about Wednesday this week, because it's a great one. I was almost going to go, because our show normally finishes at 1 o'clock.
Luckily, we got an extra hour today.
Well, we're in demand, airtime-wise, and so when we were asked by, the elite management team here to extend
we thought it was really good news for those people who don't particularly like Adrian Durham, actually. It was going to be an hour less of Adrian Durham. But it turns out he's taken a day off, shockingly.
Yeah, no, shocking.
And so it's Mark Saggers, who we're looking very much forward to speaking to very shortly.
People like listening to Sag. So anyway, I thought I weighed it up that I could probably get there by 5:30. It would have been 4.5 hours. It would have been difficult, but it would have been possible.
Yeah, very possible.
But it's not possible between 2 and 5:30, I'm afraid. So I will be going to...
Well, you've already said you're going to some pub to watch it, aren't you?
No, I'm going there to have lunch first.
Oh, you're having lunch?
Watch people
What
eat
will you have for lunch?
Scratchings.
Have you ordered anything yet?
Roast beef.
Roast beef?
Yes.
Very nice,
beef.
Too.
Beef.
Yeah, no, I call it roast beef because it's one of those things that I say.
And then we'll be going to the Porkmeister family seat to
it's not actually your family
as a family.
Seat, is it?
Well,
it's somebody else's house.
No, we call it the family seat.
Well, no, you don't. I bet you they don't call it the family seat.
No, we do.
Get them on the phone, right? And I will ask your sister, Sue Ellen. I'll say, is it true that you call your house the Porky family seat? I very much doubt it.
Well,
it's once again you attempting to live vicariously through people who are better off than you are.
No, this is between me and my family. I don't wish to stick your big nose in.
Is that right? Okay. How about this then? From when are they going to invite me round? By the way. When are they going to invite me round?
Well, the problem is that my other sister in Bournemouth invited you round first.
Yeah.
Now, a total ban on you visiting.
What? Because they upstaged them?
No, not necessarily upstaged them. The amount of booze that disappeared overnight when you stayed in Bournemouth.
Oh, right, okay.
It's a shocking
Rob says this.
Story.
Can Porky please post his next 10 Dead Cert Sport event predictions so I can get a reverse accumulator going and get absolutely wealthy?
See, you've created this terrible myth.
Yeah, it's not a myth.
It's me who said at the start of the season Chelsea would win the Premier League.
Myth or myth?
Yeah, so, but I'm not going to get into that.
Well, I'm sure we've got audio if you want to find that.
Yeah, the more I expand on it, the more you seem to take glee out of the fact that because I'm brave enough to put my head above the parapet.
You're not. Rubbish.
Because I'm brave enough to put my head on the chopping block.
Yeah.
Because I'm brave enough to actually make bold predictions.
Yes.
And all you do, I've got one here from somebody who said, I've just listened
have you seen the time, by the way?
I've just listened to what Mike Graham said.
Yeah.
He never said West Ham were going to win.
No,
he just said they've got a chance.
No, I never said that.
Which is exactly what I've said. MD said West Ham have had a chance. That's not predicting the win. That's exactly what you do.
I never said that.
You hedge your bets. You sit on a fence.
No, that's not true at all. I told you at the beginning of this show, I did not predict that West Ham would win. You were the one that made a falsehood on Twitter and said, MG thinks West Ham have got a chance.
Yeah,
I never actually even said that. Yeah, but, the trouble is you got it wrong, and by lying about what I said, you made yourself look even more stupid.
I didn't lie about what you said. I reported it absolutely accurately.
Incorrect. This is Talk Sport.
I resented the insinuation.
It's not about the money, money, money. We don't need your money, money, money. We just want to make the world dance.
Unfortunately, it is all about the money, really, and not just to the football pitch, but also off the football pitch as well. And I'd like to say we've now got Eleanor Mills, editorial director of the Sunday Times, to tell us about what's coming up this weekend. Of course, it's a big weekend. It's Sunday Times Rich List weekend.
Yeah.
Eleanor, very good afternoon to you.
Hello, how are you both?
Very
Very
well indeed. Now, obviously, we've got a bit of a sporting bent going on here, and so you've got a sport rich list to kick us off with, which Lewis Hamilton tops, but more interestingly, Zlatan Ibrahimovic has made an entry into.
Yeah, he's done very well. Well, poor him with his 2 broken cruciate ligaments, but he is worth 110 million quid.
That's an awful lot of money for a guy who's just, he's only been one season in the English Premier League, but we don't know whether he's going to stay for another one. But he's one of the few footballers in there because a lot of the other people with football on their sort of CV, if you like, are managers, aren't they?
Yeah, no, they are. The other ones who do well are Andy Murray, of course, although our Rich List compiler reckons that he could make a lot more if he went for more kind of sponsorship deals. Because it's interesting how many of these guys, they make a lot of money in prize money, like Rory McIlroy, but it's actually the sponsorship deals where they really start coining it.
Well, that's where the Beckhams really jumped on a bandwagon, didn't they? They put the name to so many things that in the end, the football money became irrelevant.
Exactly, it's all about Brian Beckham now.
Yes,
and they're right at the top of our richest couples.
Of course, yeah
I suppose they will be. There's all kinds of. The rich list sort of gets more comprehensive every year, doesn't it? The thing that interests me on this sporting rich list, you've got Pep Guardiola, you've got Jose Mourinho, Gareth Bale, a lot of names that everyone's familiar with. But the one name that people don't necessarily know too much about is this guy Luol Deng, who plays in the NBA in America, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, the Americans get a huge amount of money, don't they? It's because the leagues are so much bigger. There's so many more fans relative to here. So the money is really, really huge. So although we don't know that much about them, out there they really are a big deal, and therefore they make a lot of money.
Yeah,
they certainly do. Ellen, does it ever occur to you, like it does to me, that when you've got people like Wayne Rooney on that rich list, Sunday Times rich list is the most famous recording of people's wealth in the world, this boy came from a council house in Croxteth in Liverpool. I love success stories like that. Don't they inspire you as much as they inspire me, maybe?
Well, I think so. I think what's really interesting about the Rich List, and there'll be a whole load of big stories that come out of it tomorrow, is how it shows that actually wealth in the UK, although we think it's quite static, changes a lot. Something like a third of the people in the Rich List this year were not in it 10 years ago. So there's people like the Queen or the new Duke of Westminster who inherit an absolute packet. Yeah. But then there were also people who came here as immigrants who made an absolute fortune, or people like Wayne Rooney who come from very humble origins.
Yes.
And it actually does show what a meritocratic society we really do have, which I think is important. And the other thing that shows this year is how many female entrepreneurs are really making it for themselves. Denise Coates, based Bet 365, she's made an absolute killing. She's one of the highest placed women on the list.
I think isn't that a billionaire family now? Because her father, of course, owns Stoke City. The chairman of Stoke City, but it was all her doing, wasn't it, Bet 365?
It was her, a clever lady, who decided that the internet was the way to go, that was the way gambling was going to go, and she's made an absolute fortune. And there's lots of other very kind of clever women on there. And in fact, in the magazine tomorrow, we've got an interview with Samantha Cameron's mother, Lady Astor, talking about how she made a packet out of posh furniture.
Lovely.
And there's lots of other interesting interviews. James Dyson's given us a big interview. He's another big riser because of Brexit and the devaluation of the pound.
Yeah.
He's now making a mint out of exports. So there's lots of things you don't necessarily think. In fact, Brexit's been amazingly good for the rich list.
That's right.
The value of it's gone up considerably. And there's lots of surprises in there this year.
I tell you who people will be looking for. Pippa Middleton's going to be the society wedding of the year. And her parents have done quite well, haven't they?
Yeah, her parents are definitely up. I think the Queen is a bit down, but I can't tell you too many things because it's all embargoed till tomorrow. So
Sure.
you have to go out and
It's all
buy
top
it.
secret stuff. Yeah, well, the thing about Pippa Middleton's parents, though, is that after they've spent all this money on this wedding, they'll obviously have to recoup some of it from Hello magazine or something in order to stay as high up the list as they possibly can.
I'll sell a few more.
Marrying someone incredibly rich, I'm sure he's kind of going to add to the family wealth.
Or just sell a few more party balloons.
Yeah, well, there's always that possibility.
Yeah.
I mean, and also, sometimes looking at that rich list, and I know there's limited things you can tell us about it, but you know, there's an awful lot of sort of foreign investors who have come to London or have called themselves domiciled in Britain nowadays. Is that still the case with the way property's going and all that?
Yeah, you heard it here first. There's an absolutely massive increase in the number of billionaires who live now in London, and we're now the absolute capital city of the world.
Excellent.
So they're very, very super rich, which, as we know, has its kind of ups and downs in terms of its knock-on effects for the rest of us, particularly in terms of property prices.
Yes.
But it's interesting that we've become such a magnet for them, and also that Brexit and all this kerfuffle that we're hearing about all the time about Brexit and the negotiations hasn't put off the world's super rich wanting to be in England.
No, it's great. And aren't we the 7th biggest French city talking about Brexit? So
Yes, we are. That's why Macron came to London for his campaign.
Yes, exactly.
He realised it was a really important place to be.
Exactly.
I know. Incredible stuff. Listen, Eleanor, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks,
have a great
Eleanor.
weekend. I'm sure you will have. Eleanor Mills there, editorial director of the Sunday Times. The Sunday Times Rich List, of course, is out tomorrow. I dare say you won't be on it again.
No, I won't be.
Yeah, that's because you keep everything hidden
No,
offshore,
not
isn't
at all. Not at all. It's just that I have no wealth like that.
You tick the no publicity box.
Not at all. No. I am merely a comfortable earner. That's all.
Comfortable?
Yeah, comfortable.
You heard it here first. It's Talk Sport. What's this?
Now then, do you know who that is?
No.
That is
never heard of it.
Kraftwerk.
Is it?
Kraftwerk.
Okay, well, I know Kraftwerk. I've never heard that song.
Computer Love.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, what do you know about Kraftwerk?
Well, I know they recorded a song called Autobahn,
Yeah.
which the long version of which is 7.5 minutes long.
And why did they record a song about a German motorway?
Why?
Yes.
Well, they're a German band.
Of course they are.
German techno band.
German band.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, guess what?
What?
Guess what I found from my my health journals?
Uh-huh.
In Germany now, right, they're setting up foundations to try and teach Germans how to laugh. Because, there is so
Rubbish.
No.
Are you sure it's not April Fool?
No. There is so little humour in Germany that they've decided that to establish all these foundations. No.
I don't think that's true. See, I've always said about the Germans that they just have a very different sense of humour to us.
Yeah.
Because I once went on a golfing trip, funnily enough, to La Manga,
Right.
where I was supposed to head up a team of journalists to play against a load of other people from the rest of Europe, right? And there was a lot of Germans there.
Yeah.
And we had lots of joshing that went backwards and forwards. But
Yeah.
the jokes that they told were so appalling and bad.
That's right,
They
yeah.
were I was just going, that's not funny.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, some of them are quite rude, so I can't tell you any of them really, but they just weren't funny.
This is detailed research. Even the German government are worried there's not enough humour in the country. Listen to this. Almost a third of Germans never laugh. Or laughed less than 5 times a day. A national study found. Of those that did laugh, 77% said they liked to chuckle at someone else's mishaps.
That's true.
It's all about Schadenfreude.
Schadenfreude. Yeah, well, they're very keen on slapstick comedy there as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Older people were generally less jolly, and more than a third of over 55s have effectively stopped laughing altogether.
Really?
Right? They don't laugh at all.
I don't believe that.
No, this research says that you won't believe this. I mean, maybe they've got Paradise Syndrome in Germany or something because it's such a wealthy country.
Yeah.
But it says Germans laugh less now than they did in the 1950s when their country was bombed and wrecked from the Second World War and they're rebuilding it.
Well, I mean, I suppose there's a certain a stiff upper lip type thing that you get into when you're suffering in a bad way and things. You have a bit of black humour, you know?
It says that...
I've always found Germans to be very amusing people, though.
Well, I'm not sure how amusing they are these days. It says they laugh at the misfortunes of others, according to the new study.
Right.
and Schadenfreude is one of the things they find hilarious.
But isn't that what we do as well? I mean, isn't that what an awful lot of humour is about, laughing at somebody else's misfortune, isn't it?
Well, it says here, overall, the results clearly show that the big majority of German citizens can be described as sourpusses, says my report.
Who's done this report?
The report was written by the Schwenninger Krankenkasse Health Group, okay?
Yeah. So it's been done by Germans?
Yeah, which conducted the survey of more than 1,000 Germans in several... in 7 cities across Germany, okay?
Right.
The researchers said that Germans laughed 3 times more often in the 1950s when the country was still divided and rebuilding itself after the Second World War.
Well, how do you measure that?
Well, they've measured it. We have ways of making you laugh.
I don't think you can say that.
No,
but surely the point is, if you go up to someone and say, I mean, if I said to you, do you laugh more now than you did 40 years ago? Yeah. 1, you can't remember. 2, what difference does it make whether you did or not?
They can. Anyway, Tonja Katrin, a lady who heads up the... Tonja Katrin Handke. Her name is Handke.
Okay.
Handke, who heads up the Schwenninger's Health Report. Okay. She said.
Schwenninger's cat.
She said those who find it hard to see the funny side can now subscribe to a wide range of laughing seminars.
Yeah, laughing seminars. We like all that.
And we are even running laughing yoga classes.
Really?
Where we encourage people to laugh as they work out in fitness regimes.
Okay.
She said,
maybe we should go over there and do a couple of shows for her.
Do a couple of shows, yeah. She said 1 in 4 of those surveyed was interested in being taught how to laugh. Because they think they've lost the instinct.
You sure you haven't found this in the Viz or something?
No, this is in a medical journal.
Rubbish.
Those who found spontaneous gaiety too much of a challenge, but who still wanted to enjoy the health benefits of laughing, have subscribed to say that they need to get out of their despair.
Maybe they haven't got much to laugh about now that the old European model seems to be collapsing around their ears.
Exactly. And finally, this doctor, this is Tanja Katrin Handke. Yeah, of the, what's the place she works for?
I don't know. It smells like Schwenninger's cat.
Yeah, Schwenninger. It's the study done by the Schwenninger people.
It's rubbish.
She says one of the big problems is that people are complaining they find it harder and harder to put on fake laughter when they think they should be laughing, but don't know why they can't.
I see.
I mean, isn't that amazing?
Did there not used to be a German comedian that used to come on H&J? That they would get on from time to time, who was kind of always laughing about the fact that the Germans had a very odd sense of humour.
Really,
and he wasn't very funny at all. Well, and he was a German comedian.
I've never met a funny German.
I've met lots of funny Germans.
When I worked in my,
but they're a bit more matter of fact, I would say.
Yeah, I suppose they are. Well, they are very matter of fact. The Germans.
It's a very straightforward country, isn't it?
We do it this way or we do it that way. Because that's the way the Germans speak when they're speaking English.
They don't all speak like that, by the way.
Eh?
They don't all speak like that.
Well, they do if they're speaking English.
Well, they don't all sound like they're the commandant of some kind of camp.
I know that, but what I'm saying is anybody who was not born in England who speaks English speaks it with an accent. I'm not taking the mickey out of anybody.
No, but they don't shout, though, like you're suggesting.
Well, Germans tend to, actually. Whenever you go anywhere and the Germans are in charge, it's very well does.
That's rubbish. Absolute nonsense.
Anyway, what I was going to say is when I ran my TV venture,
When you ran your TV venture?
Yes, that's right.
Into the ground?
No. Somebody else did that on my behalf, swine. Schweinhund. But we found this bloke who turned up, who lived in this country for 20 years. Yeah. He was a German. But he supported England.
Right.
And Germany had come over for an England game, and he got beaten up by some German fans who came over for being
that is one of the myths.
Traitor.
I'll tell you what, one of the myths of German football is everybody talks about how great the German football fans are, how cheap it is to go there. Yeah. I mean, they have some massive punch-ups, the German fans. They have an awful lot of problems with their, with their hooliganistic fans that nobody ever really talks about.
That's right.
When they came to have that Champions League final here in Wembley between Borussia Dortmund and Bayern Munich, there were sort of running battles going on up and down Wembley Way.
Yes, I know.
For hours before the game.
But I have to say I like Germany very much and as a country. We did the 2006 World Cup there. Yeah. So I went to every major city. I'd been to a few. I've been to Frankfurt and Munich before, but I hadn't been to Berlin on a big way.
Right.
Fantastic city.
Yeah.
Munich is a fantastic
very cool
city.
places, yeah.
Yeah, but everything works.
And they run very well, yeah.
Everything works in Germany.
And they're very clean cities as well.
Very clean cities. And let me tell you, Berlin is utterly magnificent because, of course, since they brought the wall down, you are now seeing what used to be East Berlin is even more magnificent than West Berlin because it's had more recent investment. And they've got the only place I've ever seen a railway station where trains come in on the same basis of the motorway Spaghetti Junction on different levels is in Berlin.
Right.
It's incredible.
What, you mean you're on different platform levels?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, well, you know, some railway lines go over other railway lines like motorways do, you know.
Interesting,
Amazing.
Fascinating place.
Amazing.
Here's one from SK, who says, I think Porky writes these journals drunk, wakes up and forgets he wrote them.
No, I don't.
Hashtag plank.
I'm telling you, if you...
I'm telling you.
Give them a call, the Schwenninger Krankenkasse Health Group.
Tell them something funny.
And you can research, and they will tell you all about Schadenfreude.
Very good.
Yeah.
We
don't have an English word for Schadenfreude, do we?
Schadenfreude.
Well, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that is the English word for Schadenfreude. Yeah,
that's it.
The German word.
This is Talk Sport.
Right.
You asked for this one as well.
No, I didn't actually. No, what's this?
This is more Kraftwerk, isn't it?
Oh, is it? Oh, great. Oh, okay. Well, that's because, you see, it's made such an impact.
Yeah.
The study into why Germans have no sense of humour and why health authorities there now are making them go to classes to teach them how to laugh.
How about this from Madge? It says, Das zwei Mikes are coming to a German town near you this summer.
Quite right.
Zwei Mikes on tour. Now, here's a question for you, because we haven't talked about this. Before we talk to Mike Kempton, who is, as I mentioned to you earlier, chairman of the South Wales Everton Supporters Club.
What a boy.
Have you seen this story about Manchester City being banned from signing any kids for 2 years? Because apparently one of the kids they were trying to poach was a kid from Everton who was only 11 years of age.
Yes, this has been going on for decades because it's all about having your spies in other people's camps and bringing that kid in. Where it all falls down is that most of the kids who get nobbled and taken from one club to another turn out in the end not to be any good. You can't tell at 11 if a kid's going to be a good footballer or not. You just take a chance on 100.
You should have some idea,
Well,
you?
No, honestly, mate.
Is it because you don't know how they're going to develop?
No idea how they're going to develop.
Yeah.
I mean, look, on this weekend, Jose Mourinho is saying I might put in some younger players.
Yeah.
So I saw 3 profiles on 3 kids this morning, 19, 20 and 20, who've never played for Manchester United in any real way before, the odd appearance as substitutes.
Right.
And I hope they got to break into the Manchester United team of the future.
Yeah.
And yet there are hundreds of kids like that on the books of clubs all over this country.
Sure, and we're often told as well that a lot of kids get very, very much led down the garden path until they get to be about 17.
And then
when they realise, actually, they're just going to get kicked out.
They're shown the door,
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk to Mike Kempson, because he is, like you, an Everton fan. However, unlike you, he lives in a very nice part of the world, South Wales. Mike, a very good afternoon to you.
Morning, afternoon, how are you? Okay.
Yeah, hello, Mike. We're very well indeed, thank you. And tell us the history of how you became an Everton fan, please, in your part of the world.
I was with my dad and my granddad watching the cup final in '68, Everton West Brom.
Yes.
And didn't have no particular affiliation to any side. And
well, West Brom won that one.
I know, but my granddad said to my dad, "Who'd you fancy?"
Yeah.
And he said Everton, and that was it.
Right.
Ever since then, I've been Everton.
Well done, mate.
Your dad or your granddad?
I'm not a glory hunter.
A glory hunter.
Well, I mean, it didn't start out too well,
did it? Glory hunter, because we got beat, didn't we?
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
And so your dad and your granddad weren't Everton fans then?
No.
No. So what happened to you supporting a local team? Which part of South Wales did you come from?
I still follow Newport County when Everton are away, or if
Newport County. I didn't know they still had a football club in Newport.
Yeah.
What division are they in now? What are they in the Welsh League? Oh, they're in League Two.
Well, they might drop out of it today.
Mate, you know what league they're in.
I see. Yeah, I see what you mean. Now, they're soon going to be back in the Welsh League, aren't they?
There's shocking lack of knowledge about the lower leagues from Porky.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah. Well, Mike, do you often get up to Goodison then?
I've been a season ticket for 22 years, mate.
Good God, do you go to
home game?
And how long does that journey take you?
3.5 hours, 4 hours.
What, by car? Coach.
There's 20 of us season ticket holders, and we go out every other week.
Good.
Every home game.
That is dedication personified. It really is.
Have you never seen Porky up there, Mike?
Sorry?
Have you never seen Porky up at Goodison?
No, never.
No, well, he probably doesn't sit in the same part of the ground as me.
What are you saying? He hasn't got as expensive a ticket as I
no.
I'm in a park stand, I am.
Oh, in the park stand. Okay, that's...
where do you sit?
I sit in the middle, so it's to my right, the park stand. Tell me this, Mike. How does it feel today to only have to travel a few miles to an Everton game?
Brilliant.
Yeah, so you've taken in a few pints of brains on the way.
An hour and 10 minutes on the train, so...
Yeah.
Outside the Grand Hotel Swansea now with a nice cold beer.
Yeah.
So with sun shining and it's brilliant. Just can't wait for the game now.
Okay, will you be called a traitor by any of your fellow countrymen today or any people from Swansea?
No, I wouldn't have thought so, mate.
Well, you've got a Welsh accent. You're a Welsh boy. You know, you're brought up in
the
valleys.
The people
in
in Swansea don't even like the people from Cardiff. Never mind, the fellow countrymen. They don't care, do they?
I'm a Newport boy, but I follow Everton.
Yeah, I see.
And everyone in Newport knows that. So.
Okay, well that's great.
Well, it's pretty close to the English border, Newport, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And have you had over the years, Mark, for your for your incredible devotion to our club? Have you had recognition from the club? Have you met some important people, and do you have a plaque which says, South Wales Everton supporters?
Why would you have that?
Well, have you?
We to be honest, we don't do it for anything like that. We just do it because we love it, and we don't do it for recognition. And I think you need to go across the park if you want anything like that, innit?
Yes. Stanley Park. Yeah,
I see. Well,
it's not the Philippines he lives in. It's only Newport.
Yeah, I know. But
it's
3.5 hours.
You jump over the Severn Bridge and straight up the M5.
Well, I don't care.
No, mate, we don't go over the Severn Bridge.
Which way do you go?
We go up to Addyford, Leominster, Ludlow.
That's a slow road, isn't it? That's a slow road, that.
It is a slow road.
Why
don't you use the motorways? It's what they're built for, isn't it? But
it's no good now, mate. It's tailback all the time.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, listen, mate, I really, really admire your dedication. When I go to Everton, because I live in Stockbroker Belt, Surrey, I get a first-class train up to Liverpool, and I stay in a five-star hotel. Sorry?
Can't fault you.
Yeah, and then I stay in a five-star hotel overnight in Liverpool. Do you ever do that?
Lovely.
Eh? Yeah.
Not in a 5-star, mate.
No.
I'm down with the people, mate. I am. I'm up there next week, mate. I'm staying in the Tune Hotel next week. And they look after us every year when we have a weekend away.
Oh, that's lovely. Don't stay in the Adelphi, whatever you do, will you?
Oh, what's that, mate?
No, it's the world's worst hotel.
No, he said don't stay in the Adelphi. It's a terrible place.
Don't stay in the Adelphi, that's
all.
Well,
listen, have a good afternoon, Mike.
Yeah.
And you want to give us a quick prediction for the game?
As much as I want Swansea to stay up, I think we can have too much for them.
Yeah, I do.
I think it's going to be 2-1, 3-1.
2-1-3-1. That'll do me. Mike, thanks very much indeed.
Mike, thanks very much indeed.
Guy.
Enjoy the game. He talks to him as if he was coming from the other side of the world.
Well, listen.
I mean, you don't get a plaque for coming up to an Everton game just because you live in South Wales.
Can I just say
Why would you get a plaque?
Can I just say to you?
Yeah,
because, it's a long time since you had to sort of dedicate time in your life to following a football club.
I dedicate time in my life to my family.
That lad,
I don't have time to dedicate my time to anybody else.
That lad, that Mike Kempton, supposing it's a 3:00 kickoff on a Saturday, right? He'll be up at 7:00.
Yeah.
He'll be out with his mates by 9 to get on the coach. He gets up to Goodison at 12:30, 1 o'clock. They're going to have some fish and chips and a pint or something. Then they watch the game. The game finishes at 5.
Well, nobody's taking him hostage, are they?
Hang on. They don't let the coaches go till 6 o'clock, okay?
Right.
And by 9:30 or 10 o'clock, he'll be back in Newport, where he lives.
Yeah.
That's an incredible development.
Well, that's what you do.
Do you know how boring coach journeys are for 3.5 hours?
Yeah, I've been on coaches.
Yeah, so have I, in the deep, distant past.
Yes.
3.5 hours on a coach, to me, is purgatory.
Yeah, but you wouldn't do it, would you, if you were dedicated to a football team? You would rather travel by helicopter because you can afford it.
Yeah.
Because, as you say, you're very comfortable. He, as a man of the people, who prefers to travel with his mates, not on his own, because he's got quite a lot of mates, and he'd also quite like to enjoy the day out. And that's what he's doing.
Yeah, okay.
He doesn't deserve a medal for it.
This show, so far, has been going for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
That lad has been on his coach all this time and has got another hour to go.
Yeah.
I mean, purgatory.
Well, that's fine. I mean, I've been on a plane for 4 hours. I fly to America, you're on a plane for 7 hours, 8 hours. I've been flying to Mexico, on a plane for 10 hours.
I think it's incredible dedication.
People have to put, their time into things, and sometimes it's more enjoyable than others.
That's right.
I'll tell you what I wouldn't fancy is sat on a bus or a coach or a plane for 3.5 hours next to you.
Well, I wouldn't be on that coach, would I?
Well, you might be on a plane for 3.5 hours with me.
Well, I don't talk to people who I'm sitting next to on planes or trains.
Well, that's one relief, anyway. I suppose I can look forward to.
Exactly.
You can go your own way. Go your own way. You can call it enough.
I'll tell you what, this game up at the Etihad has suddenly sort of burst into bloom. There's a lot of action going on. Let's go back to Dom McGuinness. Dom.
Kevin De Bruyne has hit the crossbar with a free kick. He always seems to hit the crossbar every game. And now, Kevin De Bruyne, as I speak, latches onto a little side pass and side foots the ball beyond Hennessy. He does get his goal. City 3, Palace 0.
That's a great goal. Very well taken indeed. Now, a couple of quick tweets to read out to you. Yep. More travel news for you. David says, "Hi, Mike. Just finished a 5-hour trip from Leatherhead to Hartlepool to watch the game later. That is dedication for you."
That's incredible for two reasons. Firstly, you've got to get out of the underbelly of Surrey, Stockbroker Belt, and get yourself round the M25 and up. But I mean, for Hartlepool, who might go out of the league
that's
today,
presumably why you would go, because it could be the last time they're playing in the league for quite some time. That's what proper fans do. They don't go to some Stockbroker Belt pub and have a roast dinner and then stagger off back to a house with an automatic awning.
Well, if I could get there, I would.
Yeah, so you keep saying.
I can't get to Swansea in time.
Nobby says this. He's a Carlisle fan. He says, 4 hours on a bus is nothing. I've just spent 8 hours on one to Exeter.
Wow.
8 hours on a bus to Exeter.
What, to watch Exeter?
I presume he's watching Carlisle Exeter.
That is beyond
I mean, if you live in Carlisle, you're obviously going to spend an awful lot of time travelling a game.
You certainly are, mate.
Now, one from Mark here who says, get Porky told he ain't got a clue what Sunderland fans want. We've never wanted rid of a manager more. No clue, spent a fortune.
Yeah.
Boys out.
Well, yeah, but I mean, better the devil you know, and be careful what you wish for, because you might not find a quality manager to go to Sunderland once they're in the Championship, so stick that in your pipe and smoke it, pal.
Well, why are you giving him a hard time?
No, I'm not.
Because he disagrees with you, because you don't know anything about Sunderland. I told you they don't want David Moyes up there.
Yeah, well.
Now, a couple of pieces of information I meant to tell you earlier, right? One is that, did you know there was a heavyweight boxing match going on during the show, which has been won by Joseph Parker, who is, of course, the WBO heavyweight title holder. Yeah. This is a guy who owns the one belt that Anthony Joshua doesn't yet have, okay? And he was meant to be fighting Tyson Fury's cousin, I think, but he ended up fighting a guy called Razvan Kujanu down in New Zealand. He's won the fight, okay?
When did this take place?
This took place a couple of hours ago.
I mean, why are we interested?
Because he may end up fighting Anthony Joshua.
No, he won't.
He may well do.
Many more contenders ahead of this boy Kojuna.
No, not Kojuna. He's the guy that lost.
Joseph Parker. Well, there's many more contenders ahead of him as well.
He's not actually. He's the WBO heavyweight champion.
Some of these titles are mystifying in their.
Well, they might be mystifying to
presence.
You. He is a potential future opponent for Anthony Joshua and Tony Bellew.
I'll believe it when I see
it.
So
put that in your pipe and smoke it. Secondly, the other thing I wanted to tell you about. Do you know about Eliud Kipchoge?
Who?
Eliud Kipchoge.
Obviously not. No,
why not?
Is he?
He's a marathon runner from Kenya.
Oh, is he? Great.
Runs in the Olympics, right?
Good.
He's just run the fastest ever recorded marathon. Do you know how fast he ran it?
No.
2 hours, 24 seconds.
2 hours, 24 seconds.
That is a remarkable
But he couldn't get under 2 hours. He failed, didn't he?
Well, he didn't get under 2 hours.
Yeah, he failed.
And what's also interesting is that apparently even that time, which would have been the fastest ever recorded marathon, can't be recorded because there was some kind of problem with the way that the pacemaker car was sorting out. And
that's
so
a bit harsh,
this guy's
after training for like 10 years.
He's run the fastest marathon,
a 2-hour marathon
of all time, right? And it doesn't count.
It's funny that you should say that.
Doesn't count.
No, I know, it's heartbreaking.
Shocking.
But funny enough, I'll tell you an irony of history. An irony of history is...
We haven't got much time
on
for
this very day today,
Dr.
Roger Bannister.
No, Dr. Banner's your doctor.
That's right.
He's the guy that keeps you alive.
Yeah, Dr. Roger Bannister ran the 4-minute mile for the first time.
Well, that's one of the reasons this is particularly poignant.
Exactly.
And it's particularly unfortunate because the current world record, is held by another Kenyan who's called Dennis Kimeto.
They're good, these Kenyans.
They are very good. 2 hours, 2 minutes 57.
Yeah.
Right?
Very good.
Set in 2014. So this guy beat that by practically 2 minutes.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's...
And they told him to...
but he still failed.
Sling your hook.
No, he didn't get under 2 hours. No. Honestly, he
set
out...
broke the record by 2 minutes.
It doesn't matter. He set out to do the first ever under 2-hour marathon, so he failed. So he might as well not bothered.
Well, let's see if you can manage to do the 1 minute moan in under a minute.
Okay.
How long has this been going on?
Apparently it's 14-5 to me now.
Yeah. Well, it won't be
We'll
soon.
have to keep this going for a couple of seasons in order for you to catch up.
Yeah.
And now, have you got one?
I have.
Would you like to go first?
I'll go first.
All right, Monsieur, Maestro, can you start the clock, please?
Now, this is a personal moan, okay? I don't normally focus on myself personally, But I use Domino's pizzas quite a lot.
What do you use them for?
To get pizza in a number of different stores. Now, last night I go into a Domino's pizza on the way home from. I've been working all day, doing various things, and I said, "Please, could I have your offer of 2 for 1?" They said, "Yes, that'll be £17.99." I said, "Thank you." And the lady behind,
it's expensive, isn't it?
The lady behind the counter, who was a lovely girl, she was East European, so I'm not mocking her, but she spoke like this. Yes, of course.
Sounds Welsh.
No, she said yes. So I said,
German.
great. So I said, "How long will it take?" She said, 12 minutes.
12 minutes?
I said, "OK." I said, "I'll be back in about quarter of an hour then." She said, "No, 12 minutes.
12 minutes?
No, she did. So I went off, right, and I thought with 12 minutes I had time to walk to the pub just up the road. And because it was only 12 minutes, I had one small glass of French red wine, Pinot Noir,
right.
and I drank it and I went back in exactly 12 minutes.
Yes.
So I went in and, by the way, on the way back, I bought a very expensive...
That's your lot.
No.
You don't get to hear the end of the story, so you can't do it in a minute, can you? It's finished,
no,
you're done.
No, when I got there...
That's the end.
When I got there...
That's the end.
When I got there, I said, "Where's my pizza?"
Yeah.
She said, "We haven't done it." I said, "You told me 12 minutes. She said, "We have not done it, I'm sorry." So I asked for my money back and walked out.
Did you get it?
Yeah. She gave me £18
How is that even
back.
a moan?
It is a moan.
How is it a moan?
Because I was looking forward to pizza and I
It's
bought
just
a
a
very
story.
expensive bottle of Chateau...
So you said you only had one glass.
No, I had one glass in the pub, but then I bought a bottle from the liquor store and I was going to go home and enjoy pizza and great red wine.
So what did you have for dinner?
I had one of those shepherd pies that you heat up. Because I had one in the freezer.
One of those shepherd's pies that you heat up?
Yeah.
What, as opposed to one of the ones that you cool down?
That's right, yeah. It was such a...
I'll tell you what.
No, honestly...
You should be in sheltered accommodation.
No, my senses were so hurt. I mean, my tongue was looking forward to the taste of pizza. Yeah. And I didn't get any.
I don't even think I should bother doing one. I just win by 15.5. Just go straight to 15.5.
They didn't
Cut out the middleman.
They just didn't do my pizza.
That's just hopeless.
No, it's not. It's a genuine one, that. It's a personalised, genuine one.
Right, personalised, genuine 1 minute moan. Would you like to have me do one anyway?
Yeah, go on.
Well, we're going to start the clock.
OK. Maestro, please, start the clock.
Right, I'm going to have a moan about the Middleton wedding, OK? It's being called the wedding of the year. Apparently on May the 20th, which is not very far away from now, a couple of weeks from now, we are all going to be terribly, terribly excited to watch Pippa Middleton with her bloody arms walking down, and no doubt her backside, walking down the middle of a church to great oohs and ahs from writers all over the country, telling us what an amazing woman she is, telling us what a lovely guy she's marrying, telling us all about how great it is that this Middleton family are now part of the royal family.
Yes.
I just can't be bothered with any of it. There's loads of it, acres and acres of it all over the papers, all about, what they're going to be wearing, who's making the dress, how they're going to the Caribbean afterwards, how they're going to be wearing Botox, having Botox done, how they've hired a royal party planner, how they're going to be selling, souvenirs to the American tourists. I cannot be less interested in an event than this has come along at the wrong time, right? Apparently, we're told today that Carol's mother is in fact now so worried about which dress she's going to wear, she bought 2 outfits. Who cares?
Well, I don't think we can possibly allow you to win that, because to attack a young lady who's going to, has got coming up the biggest day of her life, her wedding day, to attack a young lady like that, I think is horrible. I don't want to be associated with that.
Well, you're not associated with it. It's
I
not
am,
your moan.
because I work for TalkSport, and I think that's awful. And anyway, I've just heard from the producer. Guess who's won?
Who?
Me.
There's no way.
I've won.
How could you possibly have won?
I won because I told a genuine story.
He says he likes the royal. She's not even a member of the royal family, you plank.
Well, she's soon going to be.
Unbelievable.
She is a member of the royal family.
No, she's not.
She's the sister.
Pippa Middleton is not a member of the royal family.
She's the sister of the future queen.
She's the sister of somebody who's in the royal family by marriage.
Yeah, well, she's going to soon be a member of the royal family.
What a load of old cobblers.
No, that's
anyway,
great.
So that makes it 14-6.
I want to thank our producers for that genuinely humane reaction.
Why don't you
to
go and
my
have some more, another one of those shepherd's pies that you heat up?
Yes, yeah. And by the way, when I said, why haven't you made it?
Yeah.
She said, we forgot. And she had my order in her hand, and
That's brilliant.
I was so upset because do you know what I was going to do? I was going to carry both of them home on my head.
Yes,
because that's the only way
maybe
you
can
can
do that
carry.
later.
No, that's the only way you can carry pizza without it, screwing up in the box.
Yeah.
You can't put it under your arm or anything like that.
No, you can hold it out in front of you.
Yeah, but then with a bottle
Why don't you just get it delivered?
No, but with a very expensive bottle of wine.
You've seen the time.
That's like being in a Korean jail where they tell you to, adopt the brace position at all times.
No,
you know
that's
what I mean?
not the Korean jail you're thinking of.
Yeah, it
it's
is.
the Turkish one.
Oh, right.
This is Talk Sport.
On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. The warm-up with the 2 mics on Talk Sport.
You can